Hello, everyone. Is my voice audible? Hello, everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Your voice is audible completely.
Let me share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
1 second. Today happens to be day 8 of Fundamentals of Full Stack Development course from ExcelR. What we discussed last class, in the last session, what we discussed, about two important things, right? One is to include icons in HTML, and another one is to include standard classes or built-in classes to HTML, right? What are those concepts? Which library we will use to include icons in HTML? In this course, what we used in the last session? What is it? For adding icons, what we used last time? Yes, it is Font Awesome. We used Font Awesome libraries to include the icons in HTML, and we saw how we can download how we can get the CDN URL and how we can import it in our HTML file. Once it is imported, how we can search for the icons and how can we include it in our HTML file. Fine. And then we discussed about Bootstrap. Why do we need Bootstrap? Tell me. Why do we need Bootstrap? Even though we already have CSS, why one should know about Bootstrap? Or why we should include Bootstrap in our HTML file? For responsiveness, I will say I will use CSS media query to achieve the same thing. Why we should go for Bootstrap? Media query is part of CSS, okay? Don't get confused. Even media query can be used to provide responsiveness. Somebody is saying to get a good experience, I will say I will take 1 week to achieve the same thing using CSS. Why not CSS? And why we should go for Bootstrap? I've already given the class answer. I've already given the answer why we should go for Bootstrap. I said I need 1 week to achieve the same experience. To reduce our effort for writing CSS rules. To reduce our effort as well as time so that we can concentrate more on HTML and JavaScript. Is that clear? Is that clear? And we discussed about how we can include Bootstrap to our HTML file. All we have to do is we have to go to this website, official website for Bootstrap, and then we should include CSS and JavaScript files from Bootstrap. Why do you need JavaScript if you ask me? Bootstrap uses CSS and JavaScript as well. Okay, that's why we should include both CSS and JavaScript files from Bootstrap people. Is that clear? And then we talked about rules to be followed. What is the first rule? In the body tag, first we should start with div tag, and the class for this div tag should be either container or container fluid. It will add some spaces. It is regarding some padding and margin. Okay, by default it will add some spaces. And if you ask me what is the difference between container and container fluid, container fluid will occupy the whole width of our screen, and container is fixed. It will occupy fixed width. Okay, and it will add some spacing left side and right side, and container fluid will not add any spacing in the left side and right side. It will occupy the whole width. That is the difference between container and container fluid. After container fluid, we should add one div tag with class row, and each row will be divided into how many columns? 12. Whether these columns will be having equal width or not. Yes, it is equally divided. It is equally divided. If we take any screen, it would be 12 columns only. Now tell me, I am using desktop and my friend is using mobile. So how many columns will be there in my screen and how many columns will be there in their screen? In mobile and desktop, how many columns will be there? Mobile 12. What about desktop? Desktop 4. No. Answer is, even though whether it is small screen or larger screen, right? Every screen will be divided into 12 columns. If it is desktop, then the each column space would be higher. If you consider mobile, each column width would be smaller. That is the difference. Okay, don't get confused. Both mobile and desktop will be having 12 columns only. If I give you 100 rupees dairy milk and if I give you 10 rupees dairy milk, will you be able to divide that dairy milk into 5 pieces? Is that possible? Is that possible or not? Tell me. Whether you can divide the chocolate into 5 pieces, it is possible, right? If you take 100 rupees dairy milk, then it would be larger. So each person will get more width. Okay, and if it is 10 rupees dairy milk, then each person will get lesser amount of chocolate. That is the only difference, but it is possible. Similarly, every screen, irrespective of whether it is a larger screen or smaller screen, each row will be having 12 columns only. If it is desktop, each column size will be larger, and if it is mobile, each column size would be lesser. That is the only difference. Okay, and then what in order to achieve the responsiveness, what we have to do is we will be having different blocks and say n number of blocks. We should specify if it is large screen, how many columns it should occupy. If it is small screen, how many columns it should occupy. Okay, so we have taken this example. Where we yes, in order to, for medium screen, if we want to give 4 columns, and if we want to give 6 for small screen, this is the way we can achieve it. Okay, and we saw the difference also. Now I will give some statement over here. Now take this example. For medium screen, how many blocks can present in one row? Tell me. How many blocks can present in one row? 2. Yes, answer is 2, because one block can occupy 6 columns. So it can occupy 2 columns. Sorry, 2 blocks. And if it is smaller one, small screen, then if it is small screen, then yes, it is 1. And if it is larger screen, it is 4. And since I have not mentioned about extra large here, how much it would occupy? So for the extra large, nearest one is what? Large, right? Which I have defined over here. So extra large will also take 3 only. Okay, is that clear? And now I've specified it for small, right? Small as 12. And what extra small will take? It will take the minimum one, that is smaller one, that is 12. Is that clear? Even though if you have not defined anything for extra large, how it will take 3 and all. Is that clear? Please do respond. Then only I can understand whether you're getting it or not. If you're confused, means just ask me. I can explain you one more time also. No issues. Then we are good. I'll just close this. Aman Yadav is saying, ma'am, screen is not visible. It is visible for other students. Please log in. I mean, rejoin. Please try rejoining. It might solve the issue. Just say this. And today we will start with what? Yesterday I told you what I will be starting with today. JavaScript. So why do we need JavaScript? Before answering this question, first tell me, now we developed the web pages, right, using HTML and CSS. Whatever we developed, whether it is a static page or dynamic page. And now if you ask me what is the difference means, static page, I will take this example. Say now this form is there, right? Here, can you see it is showing forms to me, okay? And now what I will do is, instead of forms, I will change it to input, okay? And now I will search for it. Things got changed, right? It is not showing the older one. It is showing the newer one now. Am I correct? Am I correct? Did we see this behavior when we were just developing the pages using HTML and CSS? No, right? So that is the difference between static and dynamic page. With static page, once we set the values, for example, now the value is saying how it works, right? So it would be like this only, how it works only. With dynamic, what we can do is we can change how it works to different one. Say how it is working, something like that we can change. So that is the difference between static page and dynamic page. JavaScript, what it provides us, it is used to add the interactions. What is interaction, if you ask me? If I click on this breadcrumb, it is showing breadcrumb details, right? This also, you can see it over here. And here, if I search for something, card, it will provide the, see, based on my search, for example, I will say model, okay? Based on this search text, it is giving me the available details. How it would be done? It would be done using JavaScript. Okay. So HTML is like building block of any website, which decides the structure of a web page. Okay. And CSS, it is for the beautification purpose. Whatever we saw with Bootstrap also, you can consider it as CSS codes only. It would be part of CSS codes only. And JavaScript, it is used to add the interaction. Let's take my old example, that is building example. Okay. If it is empty building, then it is HTML. Okay. And if you add tiles to it, and if you start furnishing it, and if you paint, all these things are CSS. Okay. Now you have this requirement. As soon as you enter into any room, right, fan should automatically turned on. It should turn on. And as soon as you exit from the room, right, at that time fan should turn off. How it can be achieved? It can be achieved using JavaScript. So for any kind of interactions, we will be using JavaScript. Is it clear? I'll give today's notes. It's JavaScript. Why do we need HTML? What is HTML? What is HTML? It's a building block of any website. And what is CSS? Why do we need CSS? Don't tell me the abbreviation, please. It is used to style the website. CSS is used for the beautification purpose. Okay. And JavaScript, if you ask me, in order to add interaction to any website, we will be using JavaScript. Now, if you ask me, why we should learn JavaScript? See, for any web application, you already know you should use front end and back end, right? We should use front end and back end, right? So 97% of all the websites are using JavaScript only. So not it can be Angular, it can be Vue.js, React.js. So all these things, even Node.js. You know, now tell me, answer to this question. Can we use JavaScript for backend logic or server side logic? Somebody is saying no. Actually, answer is yes. We can use it. We can use it. See, apart from full stack developer, there is one more stream called MERN stack, mean stack, and all. I don't want to. I don't want you people to get confused with these terms. So if you know only JavaScript, then you can develop both front end and back end. Okay, even JavaScript would be used to develop the server side or backend logic as well. Initially, when they developed it for only front end side logic. Now we have an option to write server side logic as well. That is also possible. And now you might ask me, ma'am, you told me if we write like a database logic and all in the front end, which uses JavaScript, then it will create security issues and all, right? Right. So what will happen is JavaScript always runs inside the browser. Do you agree? Always JavaScript runs inside the browser, right? And there is one server called Node.js. Node.js. Okay. Using that server, you can run JavaScript outside of your browser as well. So if you're running if you're running something outside of your browser means, then there if you write a code to connect to database and all, whether it will create any security issues or not, whether it will create any security issues. Now tell me, if you have some server which will run JavaScript outside browser, then it will not create any security issues, right? Yes, that is the main reason. We have Node.js now. It's a server. It's a server. Node.js is a server. Okay. And that will help us to run JavaScript outside the browser. Is that clear? So if somebody asks you whether we can use JavaScript for server side or backend logic, the answer is yes. And if somebody asks you whether JavaScript, where does JavaScript runs means, your first answer should be it runs inside browser. Always it runs inside browser, but using Node.js, we can run JavaScript outside the browser as well. That should be your answer. Now tell me, we have Java and we have JavaScript. What is the similarities? Is some relationship is there between Java and JavaScript? If somebody asks you, answer should be no. Nothing. Nothing. Java and JavaScripts are nowhere related. Only one similarity is both uses object-oriented concept. What is this object-oriented concept, if you ask me? It is not the right time. I will come back to that when I will be using JavaScript objects. Is that clear? Client side is front end side. Okay. Client is, user interface, right? User or client. It is like user side. Is that clear now? And as part of this course, we will not be learning server side logic, like server side implementation using JavaScript. We will be learning client side logic. Okay. And if you ask me where we will use this JavaScript, answer is it is used for both simple and complex web applications. Okay, even if it is, we saw with we created some HTML and CSS screen, right? On top of that, we can add some JavaScript logic and we can create simple applications with that. Also, it can be used for complex web applications. And if you want me to show some example means, I can show some example. We'll go to Google Maps. And here I will search for Mysore. See, it is showing the details based on the search criteria and all, right? And also if I click on hotels, it will show me which hotels are famous in Mysore and all. And vacation rentals, if you want any amenities, we can select it from here. All this based on the selection, if it is just HTML, based on the selection, this would have not changed, right? Do you agree? If it is just static page, as soon as you select something, do you think this will change? No, right? So all these things are happening using JavaScript only. So I have selected hotels. Now I will just clear the search and now I'll go for museums. As soon as I click on museums, it is showing me something. How it is showing? Based on the user selection, it is dynamically changing the content. based on the user selection, it is dynamically changing the content. You might ask me, ma'am, we do have the anchor tag, right? In the anchor tag, as soon as we click, there also it was changing. That is different thing. There also it was changing, but all were predefined content only, right? Those things those things are also static content only, right? As soon as you click on any of the anchor links or anchor tag links, then it will navigate you to some page. If I click on it, or you click on it, or if somebody else is clicking on it, it will navigate you to the same page based on the user. If I am checking for it, it should show only contents I'm interested in. And if you are clicking on that, means it should show only contents that you are interested in. That is not happening with anchor tags. That we can't achieve with using HTML. We can achieve those dynamic content things using JavaScript. Okay. So that is the first usage. We can use it for building simple and complex web application, and also we can develop mobile apps using JavaScript. Like you're using Book My Show and all, right? And that uses JavaScript, and we will use React Native library for that. In JavaScript only, there are multiple libraries are available, and for mobile application development, we use React Native, and even it is used for game applications, game development. And for that, we will use physics.js and pixie.js libraries and all. I never worked on game applications, but we will use physics.js and pixie.js. Okay. And also, it is used for creating web servers. For example, Node.js. Node.js, as I said, if you want to run JavaScript outside the server, then you will be using Node.js. I don't want you people to get bored with this theory concepts. If you just understand this much, like in order to add the interactions, we should use JavaScript. So HTML, and using only HTML and CSS, we can just create static pages. If you want to create dynamic pages, means then you should go for JavaScript. And yeah, let's quickly start with the setup. So first thing is, what we need to run JavaScript. Since I already have the browser and JavaScript runs inside the browser, we don't need anything. We just need browser to run it. And for code editing and all, if you ask me, you can use any of this like Notepad plus or something. And I will be using VS Code only for JavaScript coding as well. Is it clear? And now tell me, what is the HTML files extension? .html. And for CSS? .css. So hypertext markup language is called as HTML, right? And cascading style sheet is called as CSS, right? For JavaScript, in short, we will use it as JS. JS means JavaScript. So extension for JavaScript file is .js. Okay. And now we'll start with our first program. I will say basic.html. Okay. And I will create simple HTML file. I'll just remove everything. And now if you ask me how I can include external JavaScript in this HTML file, it is using script tag. Okay. Script tag. Like HTML, like CSS, we can also include external JavaScript file, or we can write our JavaScript code inside the script tag only. Okay, there are two options. One is external JavaScript. Another one is internal JavaScript. If you write anything over here, then it would be internal JavaScript, or else you can create one more file. Let's say this one as basic.js file. I will give HTML and JavaScript file same, so that you can easily understand which JavaScript belongs to which HTML file. Okay. And here, what is the syntax if you ask me? You should add one attribute called source, SRC, and then you should provide the path of it. There will always remember when you're adding some JavaScript, external JavaScript files, or external CSS files, or external images, make sure that you will be creating separate folder, and then you will be adding that one over there. So it will clear, it will create a separation between the styling, between the structure, and between the validation part, that is JavaScript. Okay, and I will just move this one here. And here we just have to provide that one path, that path only. Is it clear how we can include JavaScript in the HTML file? And we will write our first line of JavaScript code here. Similar, like in Java, we will print something in the console. We will use system.out.println, right? Print or println, anything. And you will say hello world. If you know Java, then if it is Python, what we will do? Print hello. And if it is C, what you will do? It is same, right? Printf or print this, sorry. And you will say hello, right? So for every programming languages, there will be some way to print it, right? In JavaScript, if you ask me, it is console dot log and our favorite words, hello word. Since, see, if you remember, if you run any JavaScript file, right, then it will print, then it uses JDK and all, and it would run in the command prompt, right? So similarly, since JavaScript is running inside the browser, this console will be available in the browser itself, where we'll go there and check. Okay, I will say open with live server. Now you should go to developer tool, that is inspect, and if here you will find console. Can you see it over here? You can ignore other error messages and all. Here there is a spelling mistake. 1 second, let me correct it. Okay. Now if you see, it is hello world, it is printing. Is it clear how to print it? And before that, you might have seen some errors, right? Let's I will create the error. Okay, so can you see the difference between the error and normal text, how they achieved it? If they can achieve it, means it is coming from the browser only, Google people. Okay, they're saying they're saying basic.js file is not found, so it is coming from them. So if they can write it, we should also be able to write it, right? Because we are also developer. We're not working in Google, but we're working somewhere, and we should be able to write it, right? How, if you ask me, it is 1 second. So I'm saying log here. Instead of log, you should say error. some error occurred. If you say this one, then it would be error. Did I say? See, this is how you can do this. Some error occurred. And now, so what are all other options available? One is, always remember, when we are logging something, logging help us to debug. Debug would be technical term for you. It will help us to understand whether any problem with our code or something is going wrong, like that. Okay, so there are different kinds of logger level. One is info. If you are making some database call, it will say, okay, you are making database call. This Bhavya is using making database call. So if something went wrong, they can go and check who has done what. They can easily find me. Okay, she has done some database call, after that only something happened. So it will give us some information. And warn when it will come, say if your account balance is low, you'll say account balance is less than 1000. It is warning you, okay, it is less than 1000, please credit some amount to it. And then we do have error that you have already seen. And apart from that, we have debug, which will it is also like info thing only. It will be having more information, like say for example, you have a method. I should not. Okay, you have 1000 lines of code, say for example. Okay, and if you don't add any information, if you don't add any info, why it is taking, just assume I'm writing code over here, it's not 1000 lines of code. And if something went wrong, then it is very difficult for you to understand, right, what went wrong. What developers will do is, say for example, for every five lines, for every 5 lines they will add, okay, till this operation completed, this operation completed, this operation started. And usually started something like this. Okay, and somebody is asking me, what is the info and debug level log difference? What is that? If you ask me, if you have a method, if it is giving some providing high level information, then it is info. Okay, and it is providing each and every information, then it is debug. Okay, it is like police investigation. Okay, if the normal person is asking something, okay, what happened, they will say, okay, some crime has happened, that is info. Okay, that crime has happened, that is info. And with the debug, if police ask you what happened, then you will explain, right? I at 8 o'clock I was walking, and I was walking to get some milk or something. At that time, some people were shouting, and after that I went there, and by that time something happened. So you will give each and every information to the police, right? So police investigation is different, and if you talk to normal people, it is different, right? You will just say it happened, crime has happened, that is the information. And debug level is like each and every step you will explain. So that is the difference. Actually, this thing, log, error, info, warn, if you do any backend development, it would be like it would be very very helpful. This one you should understand when you should use what. So I will just include it over here. Now I have used double quotes, right? You can use single quote as well in JavaScript. Make sure that whenever you are using single quote with opening with single quote, you should end with single quote only. If you end with double quote, then it will give error. Okay, and always make sure that if you are following single quote in one place, follow single quote in another place as well. Okay, if you are following double quote, then follow double quote in other places as well. Is it clear? And what else? Debug each and every step. Is that clear? And we'll run it. See, this is log and this is error. This is warning. And this is debug call, db call. If you ask me why debug is not coming, see here, can you see this default levels? This is how you will do it in the industry as well. By default, you will enable only info to the user. Okay, you will just show the info or info to the user. And if you want to check something, if something happened, then you will enable everything. Verbose, errors. See, now everything is there. Okay, here you can control. You can find all levels here. Here you can control whatever you want to see. Is that clear? Any doubts so far? No, right? Okay, then we'll see how can we add comments in JavaScript. Okay, so I will just say I will add one console log and I will say this has to be commented. Okay, this has to be commented, and I will repeat the same thing over here. Now I'll say this block has to be commented. So why I'm saying this, if it is single line comment, you can use double slash. Okay, and if it is multi-line comment, you can use slash, 1 second, slash star and then star slash. Even for single line also you can use this one. You can use according to your need. That's not a problem. And if you want to do it using visual code, means control forward slash. Okay, control forward slash. Is it fine? And now if you see whatever we have commented, it is not displaying over here. Let me uncomment this one and see. See, this has to be commented. And if I comment it, then it will not display. Is that clear? Is that clear? Okay. Now we'll try to understand two different languages. One is statically typed language and another one is dynamically typed language. Okay. I will ask you a simple question. You people know basics of Java or Python? I- I'm just asking you people whether Java is statically typed language or dynamically typed language. What is Java? Like whether it is statically typed language or dynamically typed language? I'm seeing no. I'm seeing both answers here. Somebody is saying Java is statically typed and somebody is saying dynamically typed. Even I got confused now. Okay. Actually, here if you see this Java code, if you don't know Java, please try to understand only this one. Okay. So 10 is a number. So it's an integer. That's why I'm storing it this way. This syntax you need not to worry. Just remember JavaScript syntax. That's enough for me. So here I'm specifying what kind of data we are storing, right? What kind of data we are storing, right? So this is an example of statically typed, because Java is statically typed because while assigning, while assigning, while assigning, we have to specify what? We have to specify type. Okay. While assigning, we have to specify type. That's why it is statically typed. And if you say what is C, C is also statically typed. Do you agree? Do you agree? We have to specify the type, right? Then only it will work. Otherwise, it will give an error. And what about Python? In Python, if you want to just create list one, you will just do this way. Don't even worry about the syntax. Just think that we are giving the variable name and we are not providing the type information. So this is an example of dynamically typed. Based on the value assigned, based on the value assigned, it will decide the type. It will decide the type. Okay. So now if you ask me, leave about this Java and Python and all, our main concept is JavaScript. JavaScript, whether it is dynamically typed or statically typed. It is dynamically typed. Why, if you ask me? Maybe you can't say because I have not given the syntax only, how we can define the variable. I will take this simple example. I will say var. You need not to worry what is this var. Don't think like it is like integer. I'm saying instead of int, I'm using var here. No, it is not like that. That is for the different purpose. Whenever we are declaring something in JavaScript, right, we will use some keyword like var, let, and const. There are three options: let and const. Okay, and what is this? You need not to know now. Okay, you can use anything whenever you're declaring something, just make sure that you are using any one of it. And when to use what, I will come to that later. So I have to say this one or this one. And now what I will do is I will use the same declaration. To add sequence of characters or string. Okay, so I will say Bhavya. Okay, see, I'm using the same syntax for number as well as string. So at least by seeing this, you can say that it is dynamically typed, right? Because I'm using the same syntax for both. And any confusions? Any confusions why I'm saying JavaScript is dynamically typed one? No, right? No, right? Are you clear why I'm saying it is dynamically typed? While providing the values or while declaring the variable, I will just say while declaring variable, need not to specify what is the type of data. Here I'm saving number, here I'm saving string. I'm not saying what is the data type, right? What is the data type, right? So that's why JavaScript is dynamically typed. And now if you ask me, you're using three syntaxes, right? You're using three syntaxes, right? Why? What is it? What is it if you ask me? First, I will come to these things. Okay. So I will just give the definition over here. Where is global variable? Global variable. I know it's global variable, and let and constant are local variables. And what is this if you ask me? What is this if you ask me? First, we'll come to this local variables. Okay. Then I will explain what is global variable. So we have these two things, right? Let and constant as local variables. These two things are local variables only. Then why we need two things? We can have only one, right? What is the difference if you ask me? Once const is used for constants, means once I've given the value as 10, right? Again, if I go and try to update it, it will give an error. Let me show it to you. Identifier, once again. Oh, I'll just give different names over here. See, assignment to constant variable. This is giving an error. If you just click on this, right, it will show you where exactly the error is coming. Okay. And let us, you can use for local variable, and if it is not constant, then you can use it. Now if you ask me, what is the difference between var and let, right? Var or global variable or local variable, right? It is very important topic. It is very important topic. Even if you have like 4 to 5 years of experience, right? You might expect this question in the interviews. In the interviews. So what will happen with var is, at which line number I have declared var? Tell me at which line number I have declared var? 22, right? 22, right? So what I will do is I will take different example. Anyways, it is giving an error. I will just comment it out. Otherwise, it will not execute further. Line number 35, what I will do is I will say console log global variable value, and then I will say B1. Okay. Now tell me, I will declare one variable with local scope. Okay. So local scope, it can be let also, const also. And I will assign some value here. Don't you think I will get an error on this line number 34? We'll go back and see. Why to waste our time? See, it is giving the error. If you just click on this, see, error is here. Error is here. Understood? So this will give error. This will give error because I have not even initialized it. Before initializing only I'm accessing. That's why it is giving the error. And then it should, same thing should happen with var also, right? Let me try. This is very important topic. Even in the coding interview or multiple choice questions, right? You will get it. You should tell what would be the answer. Okay, now I will go. See, no error. It is value undefined. Value is undefined. That is fine, but it is not saying any error. It should not give error. And after this, you will, I will print this. Okay. Again, I will print this. Okay. Now if you see, the answer is 10, and before that answer is undefined. How it happened? How it happened? Tell me. Why it would have happened? This is J6. At least try to think, try thinking. Why it was not, why it didn't give any error? It is because in JavaScript, what will happen is, if you declare any variable with var, right? Any variable with var, right? Then what will happen is, it would be placed at the top. See, internally, this var variable will go, and it would be initialized over here, and this one will go, and it would be initialized over here. And what else we have? We have this var b2 now, so it will go, and it would be initialized over here. And here only the assignment part will take. Only assignment part will take. This is called JavaScript hosting. It will place all variable declaration at the first. So don't you think now it is already initialized, right? Now if you print also same result. Even if you don't do this way also, by default JavaScript itself will do it. I'll just remove everything. Now you understood? Now you understood? So JavaScript will add all variables declaration at the top. Okay. All declaration at the top. Initialization will not take place. Only declaration will happen, and initialization will happen at this line only. Like line number 40 only, B2 is 10 will be assigned to B2. Okay, but before that only, it will declare this variable. Okay. Are you like, now you got to know, right? If they ask you the difference between let, var and const, you should be in a position to answer this. Var is the global variable, and let and const are local variable. Const is used for the constants. Once we assign some value to it, we can't modify it. Any questions? uh, some people are asking few questions. I will come back to these things later. Since I've explained 2 to 3 times, if I explain again, like those who already got it right, they might get bored. That's why what I will do is, I will at the end of the session, I will take 10 to 15 minutes for the QA session. Okay. Somebody is asking how I'm executing JavaScript file. I am not directly executing the JavaScript file. I have included in the HTML, and in the HTML, I'm running the HTML file. Okay, it is like that. And now we'll see what are all the data types available in JavaScript. Okay, we do have two different types of data types. First one is primitive data type, and second one is non-primitive data type. And if you ask me what is the difference, primitive data type will not be having any methods or properties, and non-primitive data type will be having methods and properties. Okay, that is the only difference. Nobody will is gonna ask you what is primitive and what is non-primitive in data type. Mostly they will be concerned about what are all the types, primitive data types available in JavaScript, and what are all the non-primitive data types available in JavaScript. In primitive data type, mostly I will go back to notes. Don't worry, I will give, I will prepare proper notes and I will give it later. This is just for explaining purpose. I will say primitive data type. First we have number. We already seen this. So there will be different kinds of numbers, right? In Java and Python and all, you might have seen int, long, float, and all is there. Like 1.1 means float. If it is long number, it would be long, like that, and all. It would be there, right? In JavaScript, one advantage is all these numbers will be under number data type only. We don't have a separate data types for floating points, integer, and all. It is for if you take any number, even exponential number is possible, right? If even if you take that one, that is also number only. Is that clear? In order to handle numeric values, we will be using number data type. Okay, so I will just say number data type. Before that, I'll just say primitive data type. Okay, and then here, how to declare, if you ask me, as of now I will take local variable a is equal to 123. Let b is equal to 1.1, 1.12. Sorry, I already using the same one. Num1 and num2 I will say. Okay, and I will just print this 2. Okay, now if you see, it has printed this one. This is how we will store numeric values. Okay, for the basic concepts, I will be using the same JavaScript. Like HTML, how I did, right? I created a separate files for all the topics. Even after this primitive data types, I will be using separate file for all other contents. Okay. If you want to console something which is a variable, then you can just use it as it is. And if you want to print multiple things, you can use comma. Okay. And also, and then next one is what? String data type. Why do we need string data type, if you ask me? In order to handle series of characters, we will be using string data type. Series of characters is, for example, my name as BHAVYA, right? So for that purpose, string will be used. No, it is not like we can use only alphabets. We can use numbers as well. Like I can say Bhavya. If you take my email address, it would be Bhavya something, right? Bhavya123 at gmail.com, something like that. Even for that purpose also, it would be used. Okay, I'll just say let, and since it is dynamically typed, I need not to specify whether it is string or whether I'm storing string or not. That and all I need not to say. Okay, and then what I will do is string 1 I will take, and Bhavya. And one more thing, I just created this data type, right? And how to know whether it is a number data type, if you ask me, there is one method in JavaScript, that is type of. type of, and then if you specify num1, then it will give what is the data type. And the alternative syntaxes, you need not to give bracket, you can just give space over here. And if you check it now, see, number. And I'll take one more example here for string, and I will add number as well, and I will add something. And then what I'll do is I will repeat the same thing for string as well. I will print these two, and I will print the type as well. If you check now, it is string. Is it clear? Is it clear? Any doubts on these two data types? Next one is Boolean data type. You might have seen there will be yes or no questions, right? You might have played yes or no questions where you can either choose yes or no, right? In that scenario, we will be using this data type, Boolean data type. Okay. If you are going to the college, there is two options, right? Either you can go to college or you can skip class or skip college, right? For these kind of scenarios, we will be using Boolean data type. For S, it is true. I will just add it in the comment. Yes, it is true, and true is the reserved keyword in JavaScript. What is reserved keyword, if you ask me? It is for the specific purpose. True means it is S condition, S value, okay? And you can't use reserved keyword for the variable declaration. And for no, it is false. It can either have true or false value. It is like yes or no. Either it can have only two options, nothing else. Okay. So I will ask you whether the assignment has been completed. What you will say? Will say yes or no, right? So is completed. It can be true or it can be is done, false. So these two options are available. So same thing, we'll do it for this also. I think from now onwards, we'll follow only one syntax. That's enough. It's done. Okay. Now if you see, it is Boolean data type. Any questions so far? And you might have encountered one more scenario, right? If I just declare, I will use let only, first name. And if I don't assign value, and before that, if I try to print it, what would be the value? We already saw. What would be the value? It is undefined. Sorry, it is undefined. Undefined means we have just declared a variable, but we have not assigned any value. Okay, and if you ask me what is the type of this data type, it is undefined itself. One second, sorry. If you ask me what is the data type, it is undefined data type. You have not defined any value to this, then it is undefined. And one special case is here. See, undefined is a data type, right? Undefined is a data type. It can be used as a value as well. Undefined can be used as value also. Okay. And we can do this way also. See, first name 1, I will say undefined. I'm explicitly saying undefined. By default, if I don't say it also, it would be undefined only. Say after some time I want to make it as undefined, I can do this way. Okay, but this is not a correct approach. We should never ever do this. We can assign it, but we should not do it. In any case, we will not do it. Okay, and if we want to like remove the value, means we will use one more data type that I will be explaining next. Okay, see here also data type is undefined. Somebody is saying, can you please once again explain Boolean? I will come back to that. Okay. And then next data type is null. Null is a special data type. It represents nothing. Say, say I was having a bank account before. Okay, I was having a bank account before. Say I will say account number. Account number is 123. Now I have closed this bank account. Okay, I've closed this one. I don't have any bank account. Okay, and at this time I want to make this value as empty, right? Empty means nothing. I don't have any bank account. For this purpose, what we will be using in JavaScript, if you ask me, it is null, means it represents nothing. Okay, so I will just print the value here. And one more thing here also null is data type. Null is data type as well as value. See, we are assigning null to this one, right? Account number. So never ever assign undefined. Even undefined is declaring without initialization. Okay, and null is, it represents nothing. Always in this scenario, for example, first time it was having some value, and then you want to make it as empty, then you should go for null only. Now one strange thing is there. I will say type of account number. What's your expectation? What type it will print? Yes, it is object. Why, if you ask me? Why, if you ask me? You should ask JavaScript people, because starting they provided these things, primitive data types, null also as primitive data type. And from since JavaScript introduced, right, this one is there, and later they realized, okay, it is showing it as object, it should be null data type only. But by that time they were done so much of coding. Okay, they had done so much of coding. If they have to replace this one, then again they have to replace everything. That's why it is this way only. They have kept it as it is. Null is a data type, but if you print type of null, then it will give object. Okay, any doubts? Any doubts? If you want to add something in between the strings, right, you can do this way. You can just do, see, it will add space. Is that clear? Or else you can do the, instead of comma you can make use of plus as well. Anything is fine. Any syntax is fine. Is that clear? Null itself is a value. Null represent nothing. Null is a value as well as data type. Undefined is also value as well as data type. And what is the difference if you ask me? Undefined, while declaring without, if we don't initialize anything, then it is undefined, and null represents nothing. Okay. If you take any I will move on. If you take any programming languages or scripting language, anything, first we will learn how to declare variable. And what would be our next topic? After declaring variables, it would be declaring functions or methods. Functions or methods. If you people still have, I can understand few people are having doubt regarding null and undefined. I will come back to you later. Okay. Now, and that is also no, it is also not that important. If you just remember, if you just declare a variable without initialization, it would be undefined. And if you want to create empty value, then you should go for null. That should be enough. I will explain it later also. Now concentrate on this function or method declaration in JavaScript. Okay. So we can just create lines like this, right? Why do we need methods? Like I'm asking generally, it's not about JavaScript. And at what time we should go for methods? Say, okay, today I will go to mall for shopping. Okay. Today I'm going to mall for shopping. This is my single day routine. Okay. Not routine in the sense, I will go like yearly once. At that time, I can just write this line of code, right, without declaring a method. I will take one more example. Daily I will go to work and do some operations and come back. Okay. When we should go for method and when we should not go for method? I'm going to the mall, right? That one, it is not happening very frequently. Like it is happening, as I said, I'm going once in a year. In that case, I don't require a method. But to my workplace or to my office, I'm going every day and I'm doing some operations. In this case, I need method so that I can just call that method. That will do all the operations. Tomorrow also, if I want to do some operations, I need not to write a code for that. I can just call this method. Are you understanding? And always one method should perform one task only, specific task only. Okay. It should not be like you will create a generic method where you will be doing multiple tasks. For example, say it will explain about daily routine, eat, sleep, walk. And if you include everything in the same method, that is not a feasible solution. You can do that, but that is not a feasible solution. Okay. You should create one method for eating, one method for walking, one method for sleeping. That way you should write your code. And how this method will help, if you ask me, it will provide reusability. reusability and code readability. What is reusability, if you ask me? If I'm doing same operation multiple times, instead of writing the code, say at line number 90, I want to check for something. See, this is check operation. Okay, here 100 lines of code is there. Okay, 100 lines of code, and after 121 line, here also I should do the check operation. 100 lines of code will be there, and again I will do check operation, and 100 lines of code will be there. Means instead of writing n number of times, we can just write it in, keep it in one method, and we can just call it. Okay, that is about reusability. And what is readability, if you ask me? Instead of me writing declaring this variable like this, right, instead of that, if I would have created a function for creating, say I will create a function called create string data type, create number data type, create boolean data type. Don't you think at that time you can easily understand it? It is readable. It will improve readability. As soon as you see this method name called create string data type, you can easily understand, right? This method is creating the string data type. Here at least I have added the comments. If you don't add the comment, then it will help you, right? So that is another purpose. And if you just declare create a function, it will not be executed. You have to call it. Okay, first we'll see how you can create function in JavaScript. It is very easy. Just follow function. I will say walk. See, this is the reserved keyword. Function is a reserved keyword. It says it's a function. And this one method name, you can give any name here. Walk method, I will say. You can give any name here, and then braces, and then flower braces. Inside this you can write any number of lines. Okay, for this one I'll just say walking. I gave one more point, right? It won't be executed. Let's try it now. Can you see the statement walking? No, right? Because here we just created a function and we have not called it. We should call it. How, if you ask me? It is very simple. See, just copy this, paste it. That's it. See, it is calling now. And now I want to call this one 5 times. I want to execute the same statement 5 times. Then what I have to do is I just have to do this way. See, and now in your case you might be thinking it is only single line of code. That's why it is not making any difference. That's why it is not making any difference. Say if you have 100 lines of code here, 100 lines of code, then here we are just calling using single line, right? Then you have to replace it with 100 lines of code, which is good. This function or without function? See, now we'll try to understand. Sometimes for this method, we have to pass some variables. For example, say I'm creating a task called daily routine. Okay, and to do some operations, it requires some arguments, right? For example, if it is daily routine of mine, if it is daily routine of my friend, method should know who is calling it, then only based on the input it can suggest some routines, right? And it would be different from one person to another. That's why what we can do is, for the function we can pass arguments. I will take the simple example. I will say function print whatever specified. Now what I was doing, I was printing using console.log, right? Instead of that, what I want is, I just want to create a method here. You should always follow camel case. Console log, whatever input it is giving, input, or you can take anything. Input 1, you can take multiple arguments as well. Input 2, like that you can take n number of arguments, and you will say input 1, input 2. Here I will pass the value. So what I will say is, either you can create a variable like this, 1, where input 2 is equal to 2. Okay. And I will pass the variables in1 and in2. Now what does it print? 1 and 2. Okay. Instead of declaring a variable directly, I can pass the value as well. How, if you ask me, directly I can say 123, 456. See? And if you ask me, what if I don't pass anything? If I don't pass anything, then it would be like declaring a variable without initialization. So it will give undefined. And if you ask me, if I pass it as null for one of the input, and if I miss for another thing, then it would be null and undefined. Is that clear? And in JavaScript, you can't have the same method. See, if I create this way, it is possible in which language? This way. It should give the error. Why it's not giving? It is not strict typed. That's why it's not giving. It should give. One second. Let me check it out. Why it is not giving the error. One second. It should give the error actually. So you can see here. You can see here, if I don't declare one more function, then it is working fine. You can see here it is printing 1, 2, 123, 456 and all. And if I declare one more, it will not work. Why it will not work, if you ask me? We have the same methods with this name. Even though arguments are different, that is not JavaScript concern. It will just consider the method name, because if you don't pass it, then it will take it as undefined. So in JavaScript, always remember, create a method name with the unique values. Okay. Any doubts so far? Yeah, it is not showing an error. It is not showing any error, but it will not work. You can see here, it will not print anything here. If I comment it out, it will. Next, I will be starting with non-primitive data types. You need break, guys? Or shall we continue? If we continue more and more, maybe we can quickly in this basic concepts, and we can go with the further topics. Yeah, people are asking for a break. I will give 4 minutes break. We'll continue exactly at 20:35. Okay. Shall we continue? So now if you ask me, what are all the non-primitive data types available? We do have main two data types. First one is, let me go back to the notes. Anyways, I'm not giving proper notes. I will prepare and send it. Okay, don't worry. Only this much is there. Don't think that way. I will be preparing and I will send it end to end. Okay, first one is object and second one is array. So when I was explaining about when I asked you about Java and JavaScript difference, right? I told you both are nowhere related, but both uses object oriented concept. What is object oriented, if you ask me? In this object oriented programming language, everything it would be considered as object. What everything, if you ask me? If you take pen, it is also object. If you take me or person, it is also object. If you take car, that is also object. Object, so whatever I'm explaining now, person, car, and whether it exists in the real world, whether it exists, yes. So object is a real world entity. And if you take any object I specified so far, pen has properties, right? For example, its color, its size, and its brand. And pen can be used to write, right? So it has some behavior as well. If you consider person will be the best example. Person will be having what all the attributes: name, age, gender, qualification, height, weight, and all. And if you consider the behavior, person can walk, person can run, person can cry, person can dance, swim, play, right? All these things are behaviors. So object is a real world entity which has properties or attributes and behaviors. Properties and behaviors. Is that clear? Is that clear? One big advantage of JavaScript is we need not to create a class to create the objects. Okay, we need not to do it. We can simply create one variable, say person, and then we can, within a braces, we should provide the key value where key is the property, key is the property, and the value is the property value. For example, name, I will say Surya, and age, I'll say 16, height, I'll say 5.1. This way, we can just keep on defining the properties. And if you ask me how you can define the behaviors, behaviors will be represented using functions. Say walk, walk would be function, so behavior. So function console dot walking. Are you clear how we can create a object in JavaScript? It's a key value pair. It's a key value pair. Okay, and properties would be represented using variables like name, Surya, and all. And if it is behavior, it would be represented using function. Is that clear? And this is one syntax, and there is one more syntax as well. And in what we have to do is person one, we can say using new keyword, we can create a object. We can just say object, and then we can add properties to it. Okay, fine. This is another way. This is another way. Even after creating, even after creating, we can add some more properties as well. There is no restriction. Now it is only name, age, height, right? If I want to add a qualification, then I can add it. Okay. First, let's see how I can retrieve the. Before that, what I will do is I'll just print this one. Console log person. See, it has printed. It is age 16, height 5.1, name is Surya. Is that clear? Now, how I can access the property values if you ask me, using dot operator. First option is dot operator, person dot name, and person dot, if you need a height, then it is person dot height. Okay. If I go and check now, you can see Surya 5.1. Is that clear? And now if you want to access function, what you have to do is person dot, how you will call the normal function, same way, walk. Okay. It's walking. Here only we're console logging, right? I can just say return. Return will return the value from function. While explaining function, I missed this part. For example, if you are not returning anything, by default it would be undefined. The way we can send input to function, right? Similarly, we can accept output from this function as well. If the function does not return anything, it would be undefined. If I want to send something, I can send this way, return and then value. In this return, we can return whatever we want. We can return object as well. Is it clear? Now, if you say it is walking, and now I said we can add some more properties, right? How, if you ask me, I will add one more property called person qualification. Okay, I will say B. Now, if you print console.log person, it would be having qualification as well. Can you see qualification BE? If you want to add behavior also, you can do that. Say, I will say eat. Okay, eat is equal to function, and then I will say I will return eating. Okay, now if you see, if you go and see, it has eat function as well. Can you see the eat function over here? So this is about adding some more properties. Okay, and next we'll see how can we update. If you ask me, it is very simple. Update. I will take the same example. I'll take the same example. What I will do is, instead of B, I will update it as BCA. And instead of this, updated. Okay. Now, if you, what I will do is, I will print it function as well, so that you will get a clarity. See, it is updated here. It is eating here, and BE here, and BCA over here. Okay. And then if you want to delete some property, we saw get and update, right? If you want to delete, how you can do, if you ask me, it is using delete operator. Delete, delete, and then person dot age, for example. And now if I print person, see, now the person will not be having age. Can you clearly see it over here? Before that, it was present, and now it is not present. Once again, See here, you can see that age is there. It is not showing up here. It is showing up here, right? Age 16. Okay, always remember when I expand this one, actual object will be shown. So actual object, if you say, for example, in this line, it is pointing to the same object, right? It is pointing to the same object. So it has been deleted over here. When I expand here, it is just a console, right? It is just a console. When I expand, it will take a value from the object, actual object. In the actual object, that is not present, age is not present, that's why it is not showing up here. Okay, so I can prove it to you. I can prove. What I will do is, before deleting, I will just say age, and even here I will say person age. Okay, before deleting, I'm seeing it is 16, and after deleting, if you check, after deleting, if I check, then it is undefined. Are you clear? Because that property itself is not present. And now I said we can create it using new operator, right? With new operator, if I want to add something, then I can add it. I will take different property, first name, and I will say 1, 2, 3. I know it is not appropriate. Person 1, if you print now, it would be having first name. Is that clear? Now somebody is asking, can we print type of object? We'll print it, console.log type of person 1, and then type of person. Both I'll print. Both would be object only. Is that clear? Is that clear? Type of person will be object. So I will just explain it once again. Object is a real world entity which should be having attributes and behaviors. Behaviors would be represented using function, attributes using normal variables. And this is a way we can create a object. Flower braces, within flower braces, we should provide key value pair. And then to get the attributes or behaviors, we should do dot operator, and then we should specify the property. For function, we should call it as we call the normal function. And then if we want to add some more property, for example, name, age, and it is present and work is present, this qualification and it are the new properties, we can add it. And if we want to update it, this is a way. We just have to assign with a newer value. And if you want to delete any one of the properties, this is a way. Person dot age would be deleted. And this is another way of creating the object, new using new keyword. And then after creating, we can add the properties and behaviors. And type of object would be object only. Is it clear? And there is another way to access the object. Whatever operations we are doing, like percent or add, delete, update, right? We can use it with bracket operator as well. So in dot operator, it is person dot age, right? In bracket, it is person square brackets, and then within quotes, it can be either a single quote or double quote. This is a way we'll do it. We can access it. Qualification. I'll just log this one. So if you see it over here, it is logging BCA. And I will log name. This time I will use single quotes. Okay, it is working. And even for if you want to update, you can update it. For example, I will update it over here as Kiran. Okay. And then if you come and see, it would be Kiran. Now, if you ask me when I should go for bracket notation and when I should go for a dot notation, always go for dot notation because it is simple. See, instead of writing bracket and all, we can directly access it. There is one scenario when you should use bracket notation only. When, if you ask me, if you want to dynamically print the property, what do you mean? If you ask me, I will say user input, and user is asking us to print name. Okay. In this case, if I say console.log person.user input, what it will print? It will print the print undefined, because it will not take the variable, it will take it as a property itself. But with bracket notation, what we can do is, so normally how we will access the property using square brackets and then quotes and then the value, right? Property, right? So if we do this way, then it will print undefined only. What we have to do is, we just have to remove this quotes. So then it will consider the variable value. See, now Kiran is printing. This is the one scenario where you should use bracket notation. And now if you change the name from qualification, and again if you print it over here, now this time it will print qualification. Is that clear? Is that clear? It's too much. Yeah, I can understand. Since it is a basic class, I took more time on this. Please, before coming to the next class, revise these stuffs and come back. Okay, from tomorrow, I will minimize the contents. Okay, is that fine? Yes, yes. In the in the notes, I will be giving all these things. Don't worry. Thank you so much for attending this session. Now, what we will do is, if you have any doubts, you can stay. If you don't have anything, then we'll meet tomorrow. Okay. Thank you so much for attending the session. I'll stop sharing it. Please ping your questions. If you just have to run JS file means, what you can do is you can directly type it in console. There also you can just write your code. You can try it in console. In console, browser console, you can just try console.log of something. It will print. You can directly try it from there. If you want to run outside browser, then you should use Node.js. And somebody is asking what is the difference between var and let. As I explained, var is a global variable. It would be having global scope, and let is a block scope variable. What is the difference if you ask me? All variable declaration with var would be placed at the top. Top means from line number 1 it will start, and let and const declaration will be there in their original declaration itself. That is the difference between var and let. So if you access var before declaring, it will not give any error. It is always good practice to not to use var. Var they added before, it is always best practice. Now they introduce let and const, right? With let and const only we can serve all the purposes. It would be better if you go with let and const. Don't use var. And somebody is asking if I'm good at CSS, should I learn Bootstrap or not? If you have considered, like if you have noticed, I've taken only 1 hour of 1 hour class for Bootstrap. Only you just have to need the basics, how you can include Bootstrap and all. It would be always better to have that knowledge. I would suggest just go through that, at least understand. Somebody is asking, why did you use var in the object creation? We can use any, since I'm declaring a variable here, we can use either var, let, or const. Mohit Pandey, thank you so much. It means a lot. It means a lot. Thanks for your feedback. Thank you. Yeah, and somebody is saying I learned JS up to DOM. Very nice. Any other questions? Any other questions? Shaik, Aisha, thank you so much. Thanks for your response. And somebody is asking we should go for Node.js or Angular. Gopi Mali, I think I'm assuming you're a student. Just know the basics of these two. Just try to understand basic of these two, and just go through the opportunities you will get it for these two things. Okay, and just go for whichever you like, Node.js or Angular. Both are having its own scopes. Okay. And somebody is asking, will you do any project? Yes, I will be doing. Any other questions? If no questions, we'll end the session then. Thank you so much for attending the session. We'll meet tomorrow.
Amar, can you hand up?
Yes, Tirunal, you can.